Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel, and here we have another episode 9 of looking at these creative plots in the Shadow Kingdom server to see what we can learn. And guys, before we get into the video, I just want to say thank you for all of you who've subscribed already to the channel. It's getting close to the 1 year anniversary of me doing this content here on the 25th of June. I would love it if we can get to 200 subscribers before we get to that date. So guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please consider hitting that button, supporting the channel as we grow. So with that said, let's get on with the episode. So here we are at our first plot of the episode, and we start off where we left the last episode with another build by MG Nuller. This is build 111 Nyarlathotep. Man, I think people are naming these plots just to make it hard for me to pronounce, but there we go. A great place to start. Another fantastical beast here, and I think there are a few things worthy of note. Not only that it is a great build, but that there are some things done that we could all copy off. And one of the things I want to point out to begin with is the head of this strange creature. Note how it has a high contrast with the rest of the build, and what that does is it makes a very clear focal point to the plot. We look at a glance and it is obvious where we are supposed to look first, where the central point of the build is this monstrous head and mouth. It's fantastic. So use of colour to draw the eyes, very clever. Again, the colours in general in this plot, a limited palette, just greys, reds, and that little bit of white in there makes it feel painting like. It removes us away from the naturalistic world of a normal Minecraft world and starts to make it look more like a painting, which is a technique that's worth trying. So the other thing I would like to point out is, again, and we said it before, but this is another great example, if you're going to do organics, the more surreal you go, the crazier, the weirder, the more outlandish you go, the more forgiving it is going to be, the less you're going to need to be hyper realistic. But that said, this is a fantastic looking monster with these several arms and tentacles and this bizarre looking head. Really good job of a basic torso and tentacles job, really, just done to a really fine standard. So well done, MG Nuller, and thanks for letting us have a look. And now we come to the next plot, which is plot 113, Entrance of Hell by Tsubasa23. And this is where we are brought to, and this is the first thing I want to point out. We have Welcome to Hell. Go forward to join Charon on his boat on the Styx. Beware of Cerberus on your right. If you're going to say something's to my right, I really want to actually see it on the plot. But I can't see Cerberus anywhere. I was really excited for a fantastic, horrendous looking several-headed dog, but no, it wasn't there. The other thing, if the main point of your plot is the gateway to hell, it seems strange to start the plot looking away from the actual portal to hell. Maybe think a bit more cleverly about where you put your spawn points on plots so that we are led through the story of the plot. Now, there are some points to make on this plot. First of all, I really like the terrain. Fairly simple, no real organics, but it feels like a real terrain. It's well done, and the colours work for a hellish landscape. What I would say is, though, the buildings that are perched on it don't feel quite the same quality, and I'll explain what I mean by that. First few things, let's have a look here. Now, I am assuming this is Cerberus's kennel by the dog bone. This is a scaled up version of a fairly starter base home, isn't it? It is a log cube with a simple roof on. If you're going to do a build this large, you've got to put more detail, more thought into the block choices, into the design. We can't have these big flat expanses of the same block. It really does, it doesn't make sense on the plot. Again, the roof's solid idea, like the mixture of the prismarines. This thin line here doesn't seem to serve any purpose. Maybe a personal taste thing, but if you're going to think about doing these big columns, you can really go to town on the detail. Think about making big bases to the columns. Think about how they end at the top. There are lots of different classical designs for the tops of columns, so go research that. Another good thing, one of the things I really love on this plot, and I know it's a small thing, but I think that boat on the River Styx is just wonderful. There's not much to it, but what is there is really, really solid building, a really unique feeling boat for a unique landscape that fits with the terrain. These white paths, I'm not sure if they do in the same way. Be careful. I know there's a slight slant on these, but this T-junction makes it feel very square. If you build square paths on Minecraft, it really does break the immersion slightly. Think about giving more curvature to your pathways if you can. Will definitely help. And again, if you're going to make the entrance to hell, try and go all out on that theme. Try and get some blood, gore, scary, bones, skeletons, whatever. Use your imagination. Go that little bit further than just the blown up, expanded version of the Nether Portal. But it's a good build. It's a good landscape. Lots to like. I do like this little archway as well over the river. Very good. So well done, Tsubasa, and happy building, and hopefully we'll see you again in the future. Okay, and now we arrive at plot 114, Adrift by Reds, who I believe we haven't seen before. Anyone correct me if I'm wrong there in the comments below. Let's have a look. Hey, welcome to my first build. There we go, I was right. Haha. This roughly took 6 hours to make in the time span of 2 days. So a quick build here. So let's have a look at Red's first creative plot. And there are some definite good things. Some questions I have about this plot though. One of the things Red's had a go at here is a humanoid organic, which, as we've said before, is a real challenge. That's a really brave thing to do on a first plot. And first question, is it meant to be a statue or alive? Now, the reason I ask that is because it is in a pose that suggests it's in action, in motion. It seems to be pulling up this tree, and yet it's made entirely out of stone blocks, which for me makes it feel a bit confused. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at, so maybe a different block choice may have made that a bit clearer. But as a first attempt at an organic humanoid form, it's not too bad. It's got some suggestion of movement with this reaching, grasping hand. Things aren't too robotic. They have bends in the knees, one foot slightly in front of the other. There's a feeling of organicness, if you like. It doesn't feel robotic, but yeah, that is definitely a good start. There are a couple other things I would like to point out whilst we're here as well, and that is this little dock here. That really pulled me in. It made me think, ooh, what's down there? That might be something else, some hidden features in the build. And then I got down and came in, and it was just a little cave. That felt a little bit disappointing. Guys, little details like that are great. They pull the viewer through the plot and make them curious. But if you're going to make something like that, give it a payoff. Give it something that will make us go, ooh, that's interesting when we arrive. But for a first plot, Reds, well done. Really like your work. Keep going. Now hold on to your hats folks, we are back to another Lochanoia historical build here, and this time we have plot 115, the Hungarian Parliament, and I think you'll agree Lochanoia is absolutely on fire again. This is another fantastic historical building and lots of wonderful details here. There are some things that I would point out to builders who look at this and go, I'm never going to be able to do this. There are some things that we can really learn from this build to help us get there, however slowly. And one of the things I would like to point out is the detailing on the outside walls. You will notice that there's these sections here that are what? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks wide between one pillar and the next, and they are fairly simple in their detailing. Tastefully done windows and little supports and archways. But once one section has been designed, it's just copy and paste, rinse and repeat. And we look around the building and these window shapes, although they vary slightly, are fairly consistent. You'll notice all the way along that face there, they are fairly similar. And so clever use of copy and paste on these sizable buildings can save you a lot of time. Take a basic small design and repeat it at scale. Be careful though, you do have to put little bits of variation in. So you'll notice that although the bottom 3 levels of windows along these walls are all pretty much the same, there are these balcony little areas here, 1 and 2 and then 3 on the corner, that break up the flow so that it doesn't become too repetitive to the eye. So good use of little additional details there. But what makes this plot the most incredible thing is that not only do we have an exterior, we have a completely finished interior, and this thing is a monster. I mean, we would have to be here for a very long time to appreciate every detail. These completely wonderfully ornate ceilings, look at that. That is a thing of beauty, the inside of that dome. These wonderful carpets, natural wooden doorways that lead you through into different rooms that have slightly different styles of roofs and windows. This plot is just breathtaking inside and out, and we cannot do justice to it in just a few minutes here whilst I have a little wander around. So I would really recommend that you guys come and have a look at this for yourselves, because it is genuinely astonishing. You can even compare it to photos of the real thing, and it really is a faithful reproduction. So well done, Lochanoia. Fantastic build once again, and we cannot wait to see what you do next. And so from the fantastically large to a rather more humble size of a plot here, we have unauthorized link at plot 117 entitled Aqueduct, and he's helpfully left a couple of signs for us here saying this is a small build I didn't spend much time on, but hopefully you can enjoy it regardless. I'm sure we will. Unauthorized link. So let's have a look at what you've done. And here we have some simple terrain, some good custom trees, and a semi-sizable structure, the Aqueduct as it's named. It's a good, solid, small plot. There are a couple of things that I think it's worth mentioning whilst we're here though, and the first thing is to do with roof styles. I found this building interesting because it had these lots of different roof styles all in the one roof. It had these flattened cone shapes here at the bottom, and then the dome shape, and then we had the shallow apexes here, and then we had steep apexes here. 1, 2, 3, 4 different roof styles all on the one building. Now, I'm inclined to say to an extent it works on this, but I would say if you're looking for things to work on in your builds is consistency and being careful not to mix too many different styles in the same build. If you do all these lots of different roof styles in the same building, it can sometimes look a little bit confused, a little bit like there wasn't just one architect, but there's a bunch of different people throwing far too many ideas at it, and doesn't have the same coherence, so be careful with that. I would say that doing little plots like this are a really good idea. If you have a large idea that you want to do a big plot on that might use this style, instead of jumping straight in trying to do a massive large scale build first, do a little plot like this and play with the style until you get it right, until you like the way your pillars are, the way your arches are, what roof styles you're going to have, until you've got that style on a small plot, and then go for the big. Practice small and then scale it up. Makes things much, much, much easier. We come again to a familiar face. Here we have our second plot by MG Nuller. This is plot 118, Pantheon of the Deep. And I think you'll agree it's another good one, and it's one that we can glean some really interesting stuff from. Let's have a little look at the details first and take it all in. This fantastic whales and jellyfish and this wonderful landscape beneath. Slightly confusingly, is that whale flying? Somebody in the comments below tell me. I'm not quite sure. That really actually is my first point. As amazing as this plot is and as well designed as the individual elements are, for me it's slightly confusing because we have this building on this outcrop, and it has cherry blossom trees, it has flowing rivers into what looks like a sea. That looks like a on-land landscape. And then we have these jellyfish and whales and this blue background that make you think, oh, hang on, but is this underwater? And it's not really very clear. Are we underwater or are we not? So the details may make for a confused storytelling on the plot. So be careful when you're thinking about what elements you're going to put into a plot. Do they all tell the same story? I think you'll agree, though, despite all that, both organic and structure are wonderful on this plot. Linking back to what we said in the previous plot, look at this roof styles. Now, here we have a coherent roof style throughout this whole building. You have this same theme of the curved oriental Japanese style, sometimes a bit more steep like that and sometimes a bit more shallow like that, but nevertheless those two roof profiles are used throughout the whole build all the way around, so real consistency makes it feel architecturally whole, which is a really good thing to aim for. As well, when you're making builds like this on natural landscapes, really easy way to build them onto terrain is build these bases, these big square bases. As long as you don't make them too high or too obvious and you hide them a little bit, they are really good ways of anchoring a flat building onto bumpy, hilly terrain such as this. So really worth giving a go if you are struggling to get your builds to sit naturally on a landscape. So now we come to the penultimate plot of today's episode 119, Frozen Hangar by Flying Solo 13, and this is an interesting one to say the least, and it starts with this sign: come up with your own story for this scenario as it unfolds. Honestly, if that's what you're going to say, I don't think you need the sign, because if you didn't have the sign, we probably would look around and imagine our own scenario anyway. So slightly redundant sign, but I get what you're going for. So let's have a look and see what we think. And here we are inside this giant ice pyramid structure with these funky little spaceships hovering here. Really good effort at small scales. I like that. They're quite cute. And then these big hangar bay doors leading out to the outside. So let's have a look at this structure from the outside, and it's impressive in its size and its scale. Even though it's on a small plot, there are some things that make this, however simple it is as a geometric shape, a little bit more than just straightforward. I would like to point out that although it looks like a pyramid, it doesn't have even sides. It's not just 1 blocks, 3 blocks, 5 blocks, whatever, all the way down. It has slightly undulating, different, detailed, I don't know, structures almost in the sides of it. It's not all 1 block either. Some of these are actually glass blocks that let you peep through into the build, which make it look like it's had a little bit more thought than just spamming a pyramid up there. And these spikes that come up to the middle as well, they don't all meet at the exact same point. They have slightly more organicness to them because it suggests that they're not designed, that they're just there, somehow crystalline maybe. So although this is a very simple concept, a fairly simple plot, it is done quite well as a concept, as well, using the snow layers just to give a bit of texture on the ground. There isn't whole blocks up and down. Really good idea if you're going to do a snowy landscape. That really does break up a flat plot well. So Flying Solo 13, well done. I am intrigued to see what you can do with a bigger plot, and maybe with a story to go with it too, so keep on building. And now we arrive at our final plot of the episode, plot 120, The Future City of Surreal by Nutella123456 and a Cepheid Variable, who I think we've both seen in previous episodes. So let's see what they've got for us this time. And we have more sign stories to read here. Welcome to Surreal. Surreal is a city in the Saharan wetlands in 2308. Scientists turned the Sahara Desert into a bunch of wetlands. In 2550, Surreal was founded. Currently the year is 3000 in this build. Also, if you want to go inside, you can do through on P time sunrise. Oh, P time sunrise. Let's see what it looks like when we do that. Shall we? There we go. And last but not least, like my build. Surely we will. So let's have a little look around. And for me, this feels like a humorous build, not an entirely serious one. As we start at the McDonald's, which, nice. Like the Golden Arches, it's still a red cube though, people. Come on, we can do better than that. I do like the idea of using stories to inspire you when you're building, to give you ideas of the things that you would like to build, the details that you can add into a plot. If you're going to call a plot wetlands though, I imagine wetlands to be like a swamp. Maybe that's just me, but this didn't feel like it described a wetland. But hey, that's just me. I do like the humour and the fun Dark Club. We've got lots of jokes and humour and fun throughout this plot. It's a great little exercise in having a laugh. And it's worth having a look at a lot of the signs around here. We don't have time to look at all of them. There are a couple of things that I want to point out, and obviously this is mostly futuristic here. The modern-ish skyscraper builders. What I would say is, if you're going to suddenly use wood, it does feel a little bit anachronistic, to use a big term. Where you would expect big fancy concrete builds, all of a sudden you have a material that sticks out and doesn't seem to make so much sense. So it's worth thinking about. Fancy floor here, might I add. Didn't notice that before, but I like that design, that's quite funky. I am confused by the fact that there seem to be some kind of aircraft in here, but no way for them to get out. Think about when you're building these buildings, form follows function. If you know what a build does, you can then build based on what it needs. If it's an aircraft hangar, it needs big doors to allow the spacecraft or ships or whatever they are in and out. So yeah, something to think about, thinking about your making your block choices make sense and making your buildings have functions. So there we have it, folks, another episode done, another set of plots explored and lots discovered again. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, get us to that big 200 soon, and until next time, happy building.